You know when you're walking down the street and you see a dog in a tiny raincoat and you think, okay, that's adorable, or maybe you think that's just ridiculous? Well, get ready because what seems like a quirky little hobby is actually a massive multi-billion-dollar industry. Today, we are diving deep into the fabulous, fascinating, and sometimes pretty controversial world of pet fashion to figure out why on earth we're so obsessed with dressing up our dogs.
Okay, and to kick things off, this quote from Paris Hilton, it really gets to the heart of it all, doesn't it? She was like an icon of this whole celebrity dog trend. And right there in her words, you have the main driver, that intense emotional connection. She doesn't see them as pets, they're her babies. And that feeling, that's the engine powering this entire phenomenon. So, to really see this in its most extreme, most dazzling form, we've got to start where all the big fashion trends get their spotlight, with celebrities. This is where we've seen dogs go from being just, loyal companions to full-blown couture icons. And when we say high life, we are not kidding. Get this. Demi Moore's tiny little pup, Pilaf, isn't just chilling at home. This dog is a world traveler with a better social life than most of us, flying to Europe, attending Broadway shows, even the French Open. So this isn't just about a cute accessory. It's about making the pet a part of every single aspect of a luxury lifestyle. And oh, Pilaf is definitely not alone. You've got Chris Evans getting a replica of his famous Knives Out sweater made for his dog Dodger. Ariana Grande's dog Toulouse literally became a Vogue cover model. I mean, come on. And then you have social media stars like Tika the Iggy, who built an entire career as a fashion influencer with hundreds of outfits. This trend is absolutely everywhere. And this just perfectly illustrates the mind-boggling scale of the spending. Paris Hilton didn't just buy a fancy dog bed. No, she built a $325,000 two-story air-conditioned mansion for her dogs. A level of spending like that, it really makes you stop and ask, what is actually going on here? Why are we doing this?
Well, to answer that, we need to look past the red carpet and dig into the psychology and the economics behind it all. Welcome to what some researchers call the I love you economy, where our powerful, mushy feelings for our pets get turned directly into cold, hard cash. So the key idea here is something called emotional consumption. And it's pretty simple, really. It's this idea that we're not just buying a dog sweater because it might be chilly outside. We're buying it as a way to say, I love you, to show we care, to make that emotional bond even stronger. The little sweater itself becomes a real, tangible symbol of our affection. And this isn't just some abstract theory. The numbers are absolutely staggering. Just look at this growth. In only 10 years, from 2004 to 2014, spending on pets in the US shot up by over 70%. We're talking from $34 billion to $58 billion. So yeah, emotional consumption has a very real and very, very large financial footprint. So what's pouring all this fuel on the fire? Well, this chart here says it all. A survey found that a whopping 92% of American pet owners see their pets not as animals, but as members of the family. And let's be honest, when you're buying something for family, the budget and the logic can look a little bit different, right? But hey, this big shift didn't just happen overnight. To really get pet fashion, we have to take a step back and look at how the dog's role in our lives has totally transformed over the centuries. It's a journey from a functional worker to what one historian perfectly called an emotionally priceless love machine. And as you can see on this timeline, this has been building for a long, long time. I mean, this isn't a new idea. In ancient Rome, war dogs wore armor, both for protection and status. Fast forward to the Victorian era, and they became status symbols for the rich, decked out in lace. Then, in the 20th century, they moved into our homes and became part of the family, pure sources of affection. And that brings us to today, where they've taken that final leap to become fashion icons. Okay, so we've seen how celebrity culture and this long history have put our pets on a pedestal, but that still doesn't quite explain why you might see a dog in a designer-looking coat at your local park. The answer? It's that classic fashion trickle-down effect. Right, so the styles that show up on high fashion runways, they don't stay there for long. All those things we connect with luxury brands like Chanel, classic tweed, houndstooth patterns, pearl necklaces, all of that is now super common in pet clothing. The whole vibe of luxury has been democratized for our dogs. And get this, you don't even need to spend big bucks. You can totally create this look yourself. Just start with a comfy little shirt, maybe sew on some scraps of tweed, add a string of fake pearls to the collar, and this is the most important part, always, always, always put your pet's comfort first. The goal is style, but never ever at the expense of their well-being. Which brings us to the big one, the most important question of all. We've talked about the why and the how, but now we need to talk about the should. Is dressing up our pets a totally harmless, fun act of love, or is there a line where it crosses over into something more problematic? So the debate really boils down to two totally opposite ways of looking at it. On one side, you have humanization. This view says dressing your pet is an act of love. It's about fully bringing them into the family circle. But on the other side, you have objectification. This argument says it's actually a selfish act, where we forget about a dog's real needs, we risk their comfort, and we basically turn them into a living fashion accessory. So if you do decide to dress up your pet, how can you make sure you're doing it responsibly? The RSPCA actually has a fantastic welfare checklist. Can they breathe, eat, and drink normally? Is their vision or movement blocked in any way? Can they still do normal dog stuff, like walk and go to the bathroom? Is there any risk of them overheating or choking? These are the absolute non-negotiable questions every pet owner should ask to make sure safety and comfort always, always come first. You know, at the end of the day, this whole thing pushes us to think about some pretty big ideas. As one researcher put it, the pet lives in this really fascinating gray area, somewhere between human and animal. And by dressing them, we're actively playing with that boundary. We're challenging what it means to be human and what it means to be an animal. So we'll leave you with a question to think about. The next time you see a dog in a tiny sweater, what will you think? Is it a simple expression of love, a bold fashion statement, or is it a sign of something much more complex and fascinating about our relationship with the animals who share our lives? The answer, it seems, is woven into every single stitch.